I was raised in the Midlands. I've got a sister, raised by my two parents. Yes, I wasn't raised a Christian. I was christened when I was a child, but I don't come from a Christian background at all. I have always felt lost, I guess, and a great deal like something's missing, but I never really put that down to anything significant outside of I had like difficult times, and I just thought it was part and parcel of growing up and basically living. So if I'm honest, it was almost like everything I'd felt my whole life suddenly made perfect sense, and I knew that it was Jesus, and it wasn't even something that I could explain tangibly. It was just like, okay, I get everything now, and suddenly even bad things and things I'd struggled with and was struggling with, it changed, because it didn't come with this feeling of empty anymore. And so yeah, and that kind of happened as a result of, I don't know, like lots of reading and searching, I guess, but I wasn't searching that I knew of, that I wasn't searching for Christ. I was searching for answers all the time and resolution all the time, and like I was always quite a down-to-earth person. I did a philosophy degree. I studied, very concrete things to try and explain my life and understand things, and I almost I was quite proud of that in a way. I felt like I could explain and reason my way into and out of most things, but I felt in my heart so empty. I had been reading the Bible, and I had been listening to sermons and things, but I'll be honest, I still felt like I had a hard heart, and that's literally what I felt like. So I felt like I understood everything, and I could feel emotion, and did I believe in Christ? Yes, but I didn't have conviction about myself as of yet, about who I was and how I was living. It was just very much, okay, I get it, and it was all very much like that. And throughout my kind of a long time, most of my adult life, I've always drunk quite a bit, and I always sought alcohol, and I used alcohol to manage my life, really. And I think when I started to read the Bible, and I did gain that kind of understanding, I was obviously still drinking, and I became very conscious of the fact that I wasn't convicted and I wasn't changing. And I think it was after one night, I just sort of said, I prayed, and I said, I just want to change my heart, because I felt like that was what was needed, change my heart. Because when you say cold-hearted, you can think it's quite like a cruel thing to be cold-hearted, but without realising everyone is pretty cold-hearted in the world, and people like to judge themselves righteous. I needed to change my heart, and I prayed for it, and it was overnight. So I felt it was odd. I felt really, really down one morning, the morning after, and I'd obviously had drinks and stuff, and I basically said, I know that if this is the way I'm going, and it just became like a really stark reality to me, and I was like, I can't stop this on my own, and I felt helpless with it in a way. And in that kind of moment, I had actually been watching a very specific documentary, and something just said, watch this, finish watching this, because I hadn't finished it yet. And within that, at the very end of it, it references basically how God has created everything, and the beauty of what is created, and understanding who he is. And it was just in that instant, it was like, oh, I get it, and everything softened in me. And I also knew in that moment, I was like, I'm not going to drink again. And that's how instant it was. And ultimately, that was not me, because I was 24 hours before, not even that, saying, there's no way I can do this on my own. I didn't know quite what I was asking for at that point, but then when it happened, I was like, that's Christ, that's not me. And then it was ever since then, it was realising how I can't do anything on my own. Nothing is of me, and I don't want it to be either. I'm not. It's not my righteousness. Anything good doesn't come from me. I think first off, I was like, whoa. And I remember I was driving in the car just to do like a standard thing, and I was looking around, like I looked at the same place for years and years, but ultimately it wasn't the same anymore. And so at first it was just overwhelming, and I just felt just like a need to be thankful and grateful. And I mean, historically in my life, things have happened, and I'm always grateful for almost like small coincidences, or I don't think I've been treated badly, and I almost think there's some times in my life and I feel like I have almost been protected in a way from things, and I haven't been able to explain it, but in little moments I thought, okay, that's strange, but it brought everything back to me from before in my life, where it makes me kind of sad to think that he's always been there and I've not listened, or I've just been ignoring it, or I've taken it like I would, which is very psychological, oh, it's just that, or it's just this that explains that, or so yeah, at first that was my first response. And then I think for a good while after that, right until now, because it's the same for everyone, you just feel like rotten. And I was so aware about how, like, my sin and how wretched I was, and even there's big things and there's tiny things, and you become so aware of how you've lived your life. And over and above that, being like solid atheist before, I've been so disrespectful in how I've spoken about God and my thoughts, and I just couldn't comprehend how sinful and ultimately evil I was because of that. And so I spent a long time just repenting and feeling ashamed of myself. Then I suppose my next thing was I need to find people that I can talk to about it, and I did want to speak to people about it as well, because the other thing is I've also only been in like gay relationships my whole life, and so being gay is something that then suddenly started to crop up as an issue. So again, from someone who has, through ignorance, or however you'd want to call it, lived their life completely in objection to God, and that's the other thing. You realise that you're not just being a passive. You're not just being passive in that. You're actively living against God, and you're offending Him. And I've gone through my life thinking, oh, I'm a good person, and I don't like to hurt people's feelings and offend people, and I'm not drawing it down to that level, but I'm saying, to have that understanding that I've done that, and how I've lived my life, and how that's made Him feel, like truly understanding then, what Jesus has done for us, for me, and I've just got on with my life, and that hit me hard. How serious it all is, and it's serious, and it feels serious because it is serious. This is about people's souls and eternity, and my soul. And I think I kind of expected to go to church and feel almost corrected, like rebuked and told and taught about God, and have that understanding explained to me. And that wasn't necessarily what I found, but from that regard, I thought therefore that I was different, and it was me, and I was a bit over the top about all of this. It's so hard to explain, but I think that kind of requirement that people have to like reduce their sins, I suppose, and soften things and, you know, create a God that suits them. I didn't have that, and I couldn't have that. And as much as it was me that wanted to hold on to certain things, it was so minimal in comparison to what I knew was the truth and what I needed to change. And obviously I was in a gay relationship, and having that moment where you know that that's all got to change.
So Aimee, you quite a confession of faith, baptising in the name of the Father, Son and the Holy Spirit.
Is hard because you're still denying yourself, but that's it, you're denying yourself, and that's what has to happen. And you know, it's not just, but that is just how it manifested in me in a way. And it's not like the only way I'm a sinner, it's just one of the many. And yeah, and it comes, you know, you lose, you know, you're losing something. I do accept you as my Lord, my Lord and Saviour. And when I first went to find a church, I would say I immediately encountered what I would have expected to find in a church, which is loving, welcoming, excited, and what I would have expected without my really knowing what it means to be saved. And then I very quickly realised that what most people think Christianity isn't what it is. But it's a lot harder than people, I say harder, but it's heavier than people would seem to realise. And that's the point. So it got heavy with me really, really quickly, and I just felt that when I went to church, that wasn't what I was met with. And the lightness I felt, as in it wasn't serious enough. I didn't feel it, so it felt very opposite to what I was beginning to see and understand. I mean, my questions at the very beginning of all of this were about the second coming, Jesus' return. What do we do? What does it mean? Sin, eternity. How do we tell? All these kind of concerns I had, and even right down to, you know, persecution. What does this look like? What's the reality of it? And I feel my inquiries and my questions were kind of met with, oh, don't worry about it. It's not, and that massively surprised me, because I felt like there's something here that people are going to suffer if this is how the church thinks. And that's kind of where I got to pretty quickly, really.